All right, so thank you everybody for joining me, Filipino martial arts, on this first day of July 2020, a Wednesday. Let's bow in. Chinese, Filipino, Thai, Indonesian, French and Dog Brothers, Japanese. All right, let's grab a single stick. And we had a really wonderful weekend with the FMA trainer weekend. It was fantastic, and that's not passive aggressive for anybody who wasn't there. I'm sharing that more to illustrate we really can leverage technology right now and do some amazing things. And you know what I've figured out is I'm kind of using the same expression. Knock on wood, hopefully soon when society does reopen safely, we don't want to find ourselves in this figurative pit of non-training that we've dug for ourselves. That's like, okay, well, it's only 4 to 6 months, of non-training that I've now got to kind of dig myself out of. And we've been doing some really good work, and that's all I wanted to share. And everybody who's here, you're included in that as well. Like, this has really been super exciting and super validating, and I look forward to these classes. 9 out of every 10 classes. The 10th class, that's the day where I would literally, I want to do anything else besides martial arts. But then by the end of the classes, I'm like, why did I doubt that was going to be, and I'm all martial arts high again. So it's been really nice, everybody, seriously, really, really nice. So let's, let's make sure we're giving a little bit of attention, especially in this era, if we don't have a partner, to apply to Eskrima Balintawak. So everybody put your stick in your left hand. If we were physically together, we would link our wrists on the inside, right? Inside of our wrists would meet inside of our wrist. That's lesson A. Okay, so Master Virgil Cavada is the founder of Applied Eskrima Balintawak. I don't see the picture right now, but he, one of the senior students of Grandmaster Attilio, and they're no longer associated, but that Master Virgil created the Applied Eskrima system. And Master Virgil has 10 modules. Each module is really a system unto itself. I'm a module 1 instructor. I was on target to take my module 2 exam. Actually, this month. I don't think that's going to be happening because I think Master Virgil is staying rooted in the Philippines. He was in Southern California. He's currently relocating headquarters to Katmon, which is about 35 miles north of the city center of Cebu. Okay, so we're in module 1 right now. Module 1 is lessons A through Z, and I don't teach all 26 lessons in my curriculum. I teach the ones that I think are unique to Balintawak that are worth our learning. And I don't know if I phrased that well. For example, there is one lesson on how to use your Balintawak structure to fight a double stick player. And the whole lesson is different double stick patterns that the double stick person could be giving you. I don't teach that because I just teach comprehensive double stick fighting. So that's an example. I'm not saying I know more than Master V. What I'm saying is I know my curriculum. That's not a worthwhile expenditure of energy for me because I'm already teaching you lots of double stick stuff. So that right there, that's lesson A, module 1, greetings. And all you would need to know is that Balintawak is traditionally taught one-on-one. When we see each other for the first time in our session, we would do that. Then we would train. Before I get ready to go, if I'm the student, we would do that again, and I'd grab my bag and head out. That's all you need to know about lesson A. Okay, Lesson B, stances. No more than 2 fingers for the puño. This is a stick system. Some systems, the stick represents a sword and you can't ever touch or grab the stick. This is the opposite. It's a stick, okay? It's always a stick. We grab, we disarm like crazy in Balintawak. So 2 fingers for your puño, whereas Inosanto La Costa, a lot of the time we like a fist length. Here it's going to be 2 fingers. That way this is harder to grab. This is your textbook Balintawak block. You should have the ability to rotate like 180 with this, to squat and rotate as close to 180 as possible. And then in terms of footwork, I'm in a right lead right now. I can change my lead by stepping forward into a left lead. I can still rotate. I can still squat and rotate. If I wasn't training in my living room and I wasn't about to bang into this piece of furniture here, I could continue going forward, right? The other thing I can do to change my lead is retreat into a right lead. So, and I can do all the same things, rotate, squat, and rotate that I could do before, okay? So that is pretty much everything you need to know about lesson B. No more than 2 fingers for your puño. Here's your textbook Balintawak block from this system. If you go into Quintada under Grandmaster Bobby Tawada, it looks different, even though it's Balintawak. When you get rushed, try not to do this. Your hand is going to get hit. Your elbow is going to get hit. Try to stay here, okay? Some people ask about this brace. It's worse if there's space, because then, yep, you got it, Rob. If Rob's hitting me, boom, he's knocking this into me. Whereas I've seen this brace in multiple Filipino martial arts systems. In fact, I'll share this because I think it's worth the time. Let me grab this trainer. In a really well-known blade system for a one-sided, like a single-handed sword, like this is a barong, this. And I mean, they really, like, if it's life or death, like they're really serious about this application. That system, which I'm not going to name, I'm just going to say well-known blade system, and it has nothing to do with Balintawak. My prediction would even be that the people in this system might even say, well, that Balintawak stuff doesn't work, because they have very strong opinions. Okay, so and that I've seen that in multiple FMA systems, not just Balintawak. All right, so you know pretty much everything you need to know about lesson B. Lesson C, the 12 strikes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I mean, most of you know this by now, but how do we make this learnable? And I'll make up a word, memorizable. 4 horizontals, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 thrusts, 5, 6, 7. 4 diagonals, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 1 backhand redondo that leads to 1 beat of defense, and then you're done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And just for your own learning, there were originally 10 angles. 8 and 9 weren't. Don't do this because I don't want you memorizing it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These 8 and 9, which are what are now 8 and 9, those weren't present. And do with this what you will. Again, I'm just trying to pass along the information. Guro Inosanto who is a private student of Master Virgil. It's one of the reasons I started training with Master Virgil. Anybody who gives Dan Inosanto private lessons is somebody I want to learn from. Guru Inosanto reminded Master Virgil that 10 is a really unlucky number in Filipino astrology, whereas 12 is a super lucky number. That's why you see so many 12 angle numbering systems in the FMAs. So there you go. The other thing that's different than when I started with Master Virgil almost like a decade ago, 12 could be here or here. And it was not A or B. It was you chose based on where you were. So 12 by definition was, because if you really think about it, if this is going through the line in slow motion, it's right about here that the curve is going to start happening to determine if this is a forehand redondo or a backhand redondo. Okay. Now, the only thing that I don't like about that is some studying and some other Balintawak systems, they don't really believe in that shot as far as the forehand redondo. So I just made it that we do this. That way 12 is here. That way it's standardized. That way everybody who's training with me, there's not A and B, and you just, let's do a backhand redondo, because that seems to be a little bit more a strike that multiple Balintawak systems embrace. Whereas Master Virgil's really the only Balintawak teacher I've ever seen to do a forehand redondo. And if I'm in a system, I want to learn what they do. I don't want to learn what I do. I already know what I do. That's not why I'm studying with them. So since this, I know that's a minor point, since that seems to be a little bit more acceptable in multiple Balintawak families, I made our angle 12. It always needs to be, for applied Eskrima Balintawak, the backhand redondo. All right, so that's lesson C, is just 2, 3, 4, I'm really going fast, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lesson C is the 12 strikes, just knowing them, knowing the numbering system. Notice that we haven't moved yet. We haven't added in any footwork. Not really. That one's pretty stationary. So are the next two lessons. Lesson D, the 12 strikes halfway to defense. So I pull the shot. I don't go all the way through. 4, 5, right? And then I'm here, 6, 7, 8. Nothing goes through. 9, 10, 11, 12. Nothing goes all the way through. Not a single one of those. 5 is going to look the same in this one and the next one. 6 and 7 are not. 6 would just be here. That's halfway. Boom. 7 would be here. That's halfway to defense. And the only other one that seems to trip people up was 12. So just there, right? Like you're not going to go through. That would be the next drill. That's the expression of the angle halfway. Bam. And then you're coming into defense. All right. So that's lesson D, the 12 strikes halfway through defense. Oh, and I remember what I wanted to give you, everybody who made time to be in this class or who's going to watch this recording. It's a little bit of detail. For the backhand side, Master Virgil always does this kind of swing, right? Does everybody see it? So 1 is a forehand. It can just kind of drop. 2, everybody see how I swing? I kind of swing that on my left side into position. 3, it would take longer to make that arc on the forehand side. 4, 5, it's not applicable. Even 6, though, it's not really applicable because your hands are right up there. 7 is a forehand, so it doesn't matter. 8 is a forehand, so it doesn't matter. 9, everybody see that? Hit 9, and I swing that through. Yeah. So that's, I just noticed that. Master Virgil never made that explicit. I just noticed when I was training him, with him, he always does that. So I just kind of took note of that. We're on 10 here. 10 won't do it. 12, yes. I'm sorry, 11, 11, so 10 and 11. That's 11, excuse me. And then 12, you know, you're already doing it. You're already letting it go through. So a little minor point there, but good to point out. So that takes us through yellow belt for Filipino martial arts. Bear with me. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Yeah, and I want to spend some time here today because, you know, this weekend really reminded me like what the difficult areas to train when you're by yourself, like what those are. And as a learning community, let's kind of start to tackle some of these things and get them down. Now, purposefully, what we just did, which are the yellow belt applied Eskrima Balintawak requirements, you don't need a partner, obviously, for any of those. It's super simple. Okay, so we're going to jump now to lesson G, is alphabet strikes. And at its core, super simple, is you know the letters really well of the alphabet. You're using those to help you make seguidas. That was A through D, right? Did I have 3 there? Yeah, that's my E. Okay, so here's the thing. This is super important, and if you listen and you understand me, you're gonna own this drill. I am not the teacher with the teacher's edition with the right answers. That doesn't exist. So again, that was my A. Your A might look different. The purpose of alphabet strikes, they're shapes that you know like the back of your hand that you're using to help you make seguidas. That's it. And I'll real quickly, I'll say the same thing that I always say when I teach this drill. First time I ever saw this drill was with Guro Inosanto, and I took it too literally. I was a high school English teacher, so I did mine like this. And this is wrong. A, B, and so I'm doing that, and in my head, I'm like, what a stupid drill. This is terrible. But it was my fault. It was because I took it too literally. Because if I had a pen, like even a big pen, if I'm doing that, like I'm writing on the person next to me, I'm writing on the desk next to me. But that's the whole point, is that they're just shapes that you know. That's my B, that's my C, that was my D, that's my E, that's my F, G. I'm not going to bore you and go through the whole alphabet, but they're shapes I know super well. They're just allowing me to be creative and spontaneous and create seguidas quickly because I know those shapes so well. So we can do a couple things. Let me just ask you, I'll give you 2 ideas here. I'll give you about 30 seconds. That'll let me grab a drink of water here. During the 30 seconds, you can either get as far through the alphabet as you possibly can, or you can just do FMA, Filipino martial arts, FMA Eskrima. But in this system, this is where they spell Eskrima with a K, E-S-K-R-I-M-A. Okay, so take 30 seconds, go through as much of the alphabet or FMA Eskrima. And if you finish either one of those, keep going. Go ahead. Ten more seconds. Time. Excellent. Okay, really good. So hopefully you got something out of that. That's lesson G. And in all seriousness, with my background, what I would say to you, if you take that drill seriously when you practice it, if you identify 2 seguidas that you really, really, really like, that you actually start like sparring with, even if it's soft sticks, that is entirely the benefit of the drill. Okay, it's again, it's shapes that you know like the back of your hand, designed to, everything okay? Just getting a bad signal. You guys hear me okay? Okay, that's really giving you the benefit, that's the benefit of the drill. Okay, so sometimes when you're rushed, FMA Eskrima is totally fine. When you have time, go through the whole alphabet. Right? Go through the whole alphabet with training modifiers. Do it in the air, great. Do it in the air with a light stick. Like this is more a stick that I would probably do Balintawak with. I'm not insulting anybody. Thinner, smaller, shorter sticks are better for Balintawak. I have this like Krabi Krabong trainer. Sometimes that's my egg, right? It depends on the day. And it depends on what I want to work on. And it depends on what I'm getting ready for or what I'm recovering from. If I just did Dog Brothers, I'm not using this. I'm using the lightest stick I have because I'm recovering. If I'm getting ready for Dog Brothers, I'm gonna be using this all the time. I know I'm off the screen, I'll be right back. I'm gonna be using this all the time. This is great. That's my A, right? That's my B. You've got to have training modifiers based on what your current goals are. And I mean, if your current goal is like you're a member with me and you're working through some curriculum trying to pass a level, pick the stick that you feel the most comfortable doing the material with. Like, I mean, I know you know all of this, but it's good to make it explicit, okay? So that's alphabet strikes, and that's the first of 3 requirements in Orange Belt. So that's lesson G. So we're jumping to G. Now we're going to lesson I. And I want to spend a little bit of time, what does this look like when you're by yourself? Okay, so lesson I, the person is striking in on the forehand side. You are blocking, so you're defensive. And in this moment, right after their stick touches down on yours, you have 4 options. So these are called defensive quadrants. Defensive quadrants. So I'm going to do this isolated by myself for this class, and then later I'll bring in some people to help me. But this class I want to be focused on what does applied Eskrima Balintawak look like if you don't have a partner. Okay, so block, check on the outside, and return a high backhand. That's upper. Go back. Check on the inside and return a low backhand. That's lower. Go back to defense. Check on the outside, open, and return a high forehand. That's opposite. And I know that's tricky. Just stick with me and I'll make sense of this all for you. Okay, go back. This one's going to be a little awkward to do in the air. It is what it is right now until we can all get together. Palm up, left hand. Would flip this and you would hit the arm. So again, this flips and then you would move and hit the arm. Okay, and I'll show you this from multiple angles. So just stick with me because again, we're trying to develop some materials for those that don't have a partner, okay? So once again, the angle of attack is this. It's somebody swinging in on the forehand side. So block. And we're learning this chained right now. So outside, upper, high backhand, return. Inside or closer to the person on their stick. Low backhand, lower. The first sector, a high forehand, opposite. And then palm up, we would rotate the arm and hit and rotate the stick and smash the arm is parry. Okay, upper, back, lower, back, opposite, back, parry. Okay, so from a different angle, right? Upper, high backhand, return. Lower, low backhand, return. Opposite, high forehand, return. Parry. Okay, so palm up on their stick, rotate that, and hit the arm. Okay, can I use you? Okay, so just so I'll bring Simo Jean in for a moment. Although last weekend really showed me the need to start. How do we apply to Eskrima without a partner? So that's why I'm kind of emphasizing more. So just freeze it like that, and then you don't need to do anything. Just leave this here. Okay, so everybody watch. Okay, this is what I mean by outside or further away. So this is the check for upper and opposite. This is the check for lower, and this is the check for parry. And I'll show all of you this. So I'm so sorry. Please excuse me. Upper. That's my upper, and I go back. Lower. Opposite. And just everybody, I'll go nice and slow. Parry. Okay. And I'm gonna stipulate this, right? This is non-combative right now. She's literally the very definition of a compliant partner because we're not there yet. But I want you to understand it. Okay. So boom, upper, defense, lower. You have to reset the defense. Opposite, defense, parry. Now, the reason the defense is so important in hit in lightly, I would actually pick one of those and go. And no matter hit in again, no matter which one I pick, it's going to come off my defense. So no matter which one, slower. Boom, that's lower, right? No matter, one more time. No matter which one I pick, it's coming off my defense. So we're learning it. I know some people aren't going to be happy with this, but it is what it is. We're learning it almost like a kata so that we really internalize the variables and we internalize the mnemonic, because the mnemonic is super important to later stages. This is upper. And later you want to memorize that, meaning when it's a forehand attack, a high backhand is always upper. A low backhand is always lower. A high forehand is always opposite. And that's always parry on the against the forehand. Because remember what's happening again, hit in super slow motion, super slow, even slow. As she's coming in, oh goodness, I don't want to get hit. Make that shot horizontal. Boom, I block. And I have 4 options in that split second. And I got to pick one. In that instance, I pick parry. But not only do I have to learn those 4 variables, I have to learn them in a way that's going to help me learn deeper into the system. So I have to learn the mnemonic. Freeze it when you get here. You're good. Sorry. Freeze it when you get here. Pardon me. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. Okay. So one more time. Sorry. Super slow. Just freeze it. Okay. And I call this chained. This is chained because I get to practice my upper and then chain it to my lower, chain it to my opposite, chain it to my parry. Okay? And then in my curriculum, the second modality is off single strikes. But it doesn't make sense to go there until you've got it down chain. So hit in lightly 4 times. Upper, right? lower, opposite, parry. That's off single strikes versus chained. Chained is better for initial learning. Chained is also better because if you have somebody in your household who doesn't really want, they're not really interested in training with you, okay? I'm not saying this you, I'm making an example. Here, hold on. Okay, right? She can read her book. She can read Contact. All she has to do, which CMO Gene is not, if you have somebody in your house that they'll begrudgingly, like, that's all they'll do. Or they could have a remote in the other hand. That's great. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. And you can get reps. Okay? That's all I'm trying to illustrate. So chained is the superior model for internalizing it initially. Once you have that down, hit in, then, off single strikes. That time I went to lower immediately. But off single strikes is where you want to advance it to. Okay? The only other thing I'm going to say, the wording is a little confusing. All right? Because let's use this word, which I know is also like a Filipino martial arts word. In Balintawak, the standard is to return on the opposite side. Meaning, stay with me, freeze, meaning, okay, she hit in with a forehand, the standard is either a high or a low backhand. Notice, I know it's a little strange. She gave me a forehand, and if I return a forehand, we call that opposite, which it's like, well, that's not really opposite, that's like the same thing. But in Balintawak thinking, that's opposite. If you give a forehand, you give the standard expectations, you're going to give a backhand. If they give a backhand, you're going to give a forehand. That's the standard, like, modus operandi, like the way things are done. Okay, so I'm saying that because not only knowing the techniques, but knowing the verbalization, knowing the mnemonic. Upper, just freeze it, lower, opposite, parry. That becomes super important later in the system, especially if you're going to go beyond Module 1. And what I would say to you is, right now you're seeing the building blocks of the system. The system really comes alive when you get into the two-person flow drills. That's mostly where everybody, if you hated the building blocks, which is fair, when people get into the two-person flow drills, they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. But you can't quite get there without the tools. So, stay with me here. Okay, so I'll bring you back in a few minutes. Now let's everybody do this. They're hitting in with a backhand. So you block. Upper, lower, opposite. It's a low backhand. And then parry, you're going to come in almost like a roof block and open and strike in with a forehand. Okay? And I know in the air that's not quite, it doesn't feel very, powerful. Just, we got to have a methodology to work it. So now your opponent is giving you a backhand. You blocked. So there's two versions. There's the defensive quadrants against a forehand. That's what we just spent all that time on. And there's a defensive quadrant against the backhand. So on the backhand side, upper is a high forehand. Lower is a low forehand. Opposite, you're going to check on the right side of the stick and go low backhand. Parry, you're going to come underneath it with your left hand and flip it over and hit a forehand. Now, the other guideline that I'd like to give you for now, for your learning in Applied Eskrima Balintawak, your defense is always vertical And for these energy drills, because I know you know more, I know you know some angles where this doesn't apply. For right now, your offense is always horizontal. Your offense is always horizontal. For now, for these drills, it'll just help keep it clean for learning. And then when you've got it, boom, it's not gonna matter. But for learning and installation, defense is vertical, offense for right now, because especially a lot of these drills, we're only really playing with angles 1 through 4 to develop a lot of these. So offense is horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to bring Simogene back in. Now, right hand. Okay, so you're giving me this backhand and freezing it. Okay, that's it. Okay, so everybody watch. Upper, return to defense. Lower, return to defense. Opposite, return to defense. And that's parry. Okay, same mnemonic. The same thing conceptually. She's giving me a backhand, so the upper and lower are a forehand. She's giving me a backhand, so the opposite is a backhand. The parry, I got to use my live hand to open up the line and help me strike. I'm going to put Simogene over here. Okay, so hit in and freeze. Perfect. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. That's where I want to be. Okay, one more time. Backhand. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. Now the nice part about this, hit in from that side. Good. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. Hit in from that side. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. Okay, thank you. Right? So for all of you out there and for everybody who's going to watch, on the imaginary shot coming from the forehand side, upper, lower, opposite, parry. Then they hit in from the backhand side, upper, lower, opposite, excuse me, and parry. Okay, now this is not as good, but I'm trying to help you. If any of you do Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, and you have a Wing Chun dummy, you can absolutely practice this on the arms. I'm just trying to give you some ideas here. Again, though, I mean, this is the first time I had one for about a decade. I did not move it across the country from Southern California to New York, so I don't have one right now, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas. If you do have a person who can help you, they don't need to do anything more than hold this on the forehand side or hold this, you know, while they're reading or they're changing channels, hold this on the backhand side. You can at least practice chain that way. And while this is not my favorite, it is something, and I used to do this all the time. Okay? Upper, lower, opposite, and then obviously I can't move that, but I at least can get the position. And then from here, upper, lower, opposite, and the parries are really hard to train that way, but it's something. So Master Virgil used to teach out of his garage in West Covina. It's in the eastern Los Angeles County suburbs. Then he moved to Hacienda Heights, California, which is also in the eastern Los Angeles County suburbs. Then he's relocating to Katmon, as I mentioned. His home training, there'd be all these things rigged up on like springs where you could stick a stick in there on horizontal and vertical lines. So if you're crafty, I mean, especially if you don't have to like go out and like go to a hardware store, if you have a bunch of stuff in your garage or your basement or something like that, and you're a crafty person, you can rig something up to give you a line, because that's what I'm trying to show you. I know that isn't like the greatest thing in the world, but that stick in the bookcase trick gives me a horizontal line. That's all I need to practice this drill. Upper, lower, opposite, and then the parry is the one that's kind of weak. But at least I'm getting reps. Upper, lower, opposite, parry. I'm starting to get that kinesthetic thing, boom, where my body knows immediately what to do, which is what I want. We're going to end on this, and I'm actually going to end on time. So Simujin, come in. Okay. This drill is the last requirement for orange belt. And this one, I want you to think about this drill. And if you're going to be in class next week, I want you to think about a solution. How would you train this drill solo? Okay. So here's the idea is I'm hitting in, you're just going to hold your stick vertical. Boom. Boom. I'm hitting in. Okay. There are 4 offensive quadrants. In this moment of her defense, and you don't need to move at all. I'm not going to hit you. Okay. In this moment of her defense, I have 4 choices that I can choose from. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And so 1, I'm trying to kind of illustrate the line for you. If there's 4 windows, is the bottom left window. And the way that I always remember this is when I slap here, it's like a pox out. So on my forehand side, quadrant 1 is like a pox out. 1. Here's the way I remember this. And if you come up with a better way, I'm not saying this passive aggressively. Share it with me. And if I like it, I'll give you credit. But here's how I remember it. 1 and 2 are at the same elevation. There's high and there's low. So if 1 is here, 2 is here. Okay, so same elevation. So that's 2. 3 is above 1. So that's 3. And if 3 is above 1, 4 is above 2. And that's the way that I remember. That's the way I remember. And again, I'm not giving you a test like right now. I've had years to memorize this. Okay, so again, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's okay to withdraw your stick a little bit. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's chained. Come over here. And let's end on this. Same thing. Boom. Okay. Now backhand. And I'm cheating the angle a little bit so you can see it from my perspective. This is 1. So I always think of oh, I'm so sorry. No, here. I apologize, everybody. This is my 1. This is my 2. This is my 3. This is my 4. Okay, and then what I just gave you is for the backhand side. So we're a little flipped just because I'm like showing you to the side. So my apologies. We started with the backhand. So everything I just gave you is true. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and here's 4. On the forehand side, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and here's 4. So I open that, 1. 2 is at the same elevation, 2. 3 is under 1, that's 3. And 4 is under 2. Let's in fact, let's go over here. Okay, so forehand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Backhand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I do have diagrams of this, but For the forehand, I always just think of lapsao on the stick, and that gives me 1. 2 is on the same elevation, 2. 3 is under 1, 3. 4 is under 2. And then everything I told you for the backhand is true. I remember 1 from Paksao, 1. 2 is at the same elevation, 2. 3, you just have to go low, but that's 3. And then 4, you have to go low as well. But everything I told you will work out. It's just, sorry, we're kind of finagling like which side we're on. So let me demo that one more time. I know we're over time. I'm trying to give you the perspective. So this is what you'd be seeing, the 4 windows, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the forehand offensive quadrants. From the backhand side, see there's 4 windows, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then just remember here, 3 and 4, you're gonna go low. Okay, that's all you have to keep in mind. All right, so aside from, sorry, we're kind of finagling, thank you. The sides, everything I told you for the backhand is true, and that's still how I remember it for the backhand. I look for that Paksao, and then everything else kind of stems from there. Okay, so alphabet strikes, the defensive quadrants, and let's just bottle this. Defensive quadrants is when you're defensive, upper, lower, opposite, parry, and then on the other side, upper, lower, opposite, parry. That's defensive quadrants. Offensive quadrants is when you hit in, and then you have 4 different options. Okay, and I know I'm late. Oh yeah, okay, great. I mean, this isn't fantastic. Here. Okay. I'm in I'm in the shot. Great. So, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I mean, obviously, I can't move that stick, but I can hit in and immediately start, visualizing where those 4 quadrants are. Okay, so I'm not trying to be like the MacGyver of Filipino martial arts. I'm just trying to illustrate you can come up with ways. They might not be as good as optimal, but you can come up with some things. All right, let's put our sticks down. So anybody watching who's, oh, thank you very much. Visitor 808 Zoom, I appreciate that. Very nice of you. So anybody who is watching, who's interested in formalizing your training relationship with me, even at a distance, and earning rank at Stoops, OMALC.com, like online martial arts learning community. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Well, number one, my participants, and everybody who's going to watch this after the fact. Okay, so we like to bow the class out now, right? Chinese. Oh, hey, Kai, good to see you. Very nice. I'm glad you're on the call. Great to have you here. Fantastic. Okay, so it really, thanks for making time to be here. Guys, Kai is a high-level JKD, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's kind of become a brother through the Junfan Gung Fu Institute of Seattle, kind of emergent instructors community. So very cool. Thanks for being here, Kai. All right, everybody. Chinese, Filipino, Thai, Indonesian, French and Dog Brothers, Japanese, okay? And once again, sorry about that little mix-up on the offensive quadrants, but just if you go back and watch this, just remember that what I was saying about finding number 1 with that Paksao, that's for the backhand side. Other than that, I think we should be good. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining me.